guys, welcome back to Did Reviews and thanks for returning. Today what we're going to talk about is your processor and how that can affect your gaming performance. And what we're talking about is, as well as core clock speed, we're also going to talk about core and thread count and what that can do to alter your gaming performance. So what we've done is we've set up a few benchmarks and we've tested it at various settings to see what the impact is. We've used 3 games and we've also used a couple of utilities just to give us an overall view of what's going to happen. So stay tuned for the benchmark results, and don't forget guys, if you like what you see here, give the video a thumbs up, and also please click subscribe down below if you want to see more what's coming. Thanks. So there's the results, guys. Let's first get to the point of what happened in Tomb Raider. As you can probably see on the graphs, I've put down that it failed to render a particular part of the third scene of the benchmark utility built into Tomb Raider. And basically, when I went down from 4 cores and 8 threads to 4 cores and 4 threads, other than at 4.7 GHz, it literally just wouldn't render the first half of the third scene of the benchmark, so I've had to put that down as basically a fail, because I don't think it's fair to include the results that did eventually come out, because they were typically higher than what you would expect and actually higher than the settings above them. So that's why that happened. I'm not really sure why that happened. It's probably to do with the GPU waiting on the CPU to render the frames and just being too slow for it to actually do it. And coming back to that, it was noticeable when benchmarking Tomb Raider that as you reduce the speed, you could actually see the time it took for certain parts of a scene to be rendered were actually a lot slower than they were in the faster CPU core clock speeds. Now, if you look at Time Spy and Fire Strike, it's not surprising to see a decline through clock speeds and core count. Because both of those have a CPU and physics test built into them, and they also have a combined test. So it's normal to see that they've gradually gone down as we've reduced the settings. But I do feel that that gives a good overall view as to what your gaming performance could be, because it does basically depend on the game that you're using as to what results you get and what affects your speeds. So the Fire Strike and Time Spy give a good overall because they do both. They are both CPU and GPU intensive in different parts and in combined tests. Then we go over to Superposition. It's quite easy to see that's not really affected by clock speed nor core count. There is a very slight drop off, but very, very little. We've mentioned Shadow of the Tomb Raider and what happened there. As you can see, with a 4 core and 8 thread count on there at 4. From 4.7 down to 4, there's about a 6% drop. Then we go over to F1. When you've got 4 cores and 8 threads, or 4 cores and 4 threads, doesn't seem to make a massive difference between those. There is a few frames difference, but not huge. But then you drop down to the 2 core and 4 thread, and it drops down dramatically. You're going from at 4.7 GHz, you're going from 137 frames on average to 120, and then all the way down to 103 at 4 GHz. With 2 cores and 4 threads. And then we go over to Shadow of War, Middle Earth. Again, the same sort of thing. 4 core, 8 thread, 4 core, 4 thread. Doesn't make a massive difference, but if you go down to 2 physical cores and 4 threads, then that's when you see a big drop off. Anyway guys, so I hope that was interesting. I found the results quite interesting, to be honest, and I hope you did too, and I can give you a good idea as to what your different core speeds can do and whether it's worth overclocking or whether it's worth saving some and underclocking maybe, if you want to reduce the temperatures on your CPU or something like that. And also if you're looking at buying a CPU, you can see what kind of one you should be going for, and depending on what graphics performance you're wanting. So anyway guys, like I say, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe below, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.